Welcome back, AFA, to the Big Read 2025. Today is Saturday, April the 19th, and once again we are following the story of David. Today you're going to want to follow that reading chart. We're going to start in 1 Samuel chapter 30. So go ahead and open your Bible to 1 Samuel chapter 30. We'll start there. Have your notebook so that you can take any notes that catch your attention. And we're going to be back and forth between 1 Samuel, 1 Chronicles, and eventually 2 Samuel, because we're going to finish 1 Samuel today and start 2 Samuel today as we continue the story of David. So, are you ready to read? We left off yesterday as David was sent away from the battle between the Philistines and Saul because the Philistines did not trust David, and they sent him back to Ziklag. We also saw that Saul went to the seer, the witch of En-gedi, and ultimately asked what would be the outcome, and because he wanted the seer there to bring back Samuel, and he heard the same words that Samuel told him the first time, and that is that the Lord would remove him as king. Boy, he didn't want to hear that, did he? So let's jump back in to the story. 1 Samuel chapter 30 is the first portion of our reading today. 1 Samuel chapter 30 verse 1. Then it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had made a raid on the Negev and on Ziklag, and had overthrown Ziklag and burned it with fire. And they took captive the women and all who were in it, both small and great, without killing anyone, and carried them off and went their way. When David and his men came to the city, behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted their voices and wept until there was no strength in them to weep. Now David's two wives had been taken captive, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. Moreover, David was greatly distressed because the people spoke of stoning him, for all the people were embittered, each one because his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord, his God. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, "Please bring me the ephod." So Abiathar brought the ephod to David. David inquired of the Lord, saying, "Shall I pursue this band? Shall I overtake them?" And he said to them, "Pursue, for you will surely overtake them, and you will surely rescue all." So David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to the brook Bezor, where those left behind remained. But David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 who were too exhausted to cross the brook Bezor remained behind. Now they found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he ate, and they provided him water to drink. They gave him a piece of fig cake and 2 clusters of raisins, and he ate. Then his spirit revived, for he had not eaten bread or drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. David said to him, "To whom do you belong, and where are you from?" And he said, "I am a young man of Egypt, a servant of an Amalekite, and my master left me behind when I fell sick 3 days ago. We made a raid on the Negev of the Cherethites, and on that which belongs to Judah, and on the Negev of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire." Then David said to him, "Will you bring me down to this band?" And he said, "Swear to me by God that you will not kill me or deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring you down to this band." When he had brought him down, behold, they were spread over all the land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. David slaughtered them from the twilight until the evening of the next day, and not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. So David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken and rescued his 2 wives. But nothing of theirs was missing, was whether small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything that they had taken for themselves. David brought it all back. So David had captured all the sheep and the cattle, which the people drove ahead of the other livestock, and they said, "This is David's spoil." Verse 21. When David came to the 200 men who were too exhausted to follow David, who had also been left at the brook Bezor, and they went out to meet David and to meet the people who were with him, then David approached the people and greeted them. Then all the wicked and worthless men among those who went with David said, "Because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart." Then David said, "You must not do so, my brothers. With what the Lord has given us, who has kept and delivered into our hand the band that came against us, and who will listen to you in this matter? For as his share is who goes down to the battle, so shall his share be who stays by the baggage. They shall share alike." So it has been from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance in Israel to this day. Now when David came to Ziklag, he sent some of the spoil to the elders of Judah, to his friends, saying, "Behold, a gift for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord, to those who were in Bethel, and to those who were in Ramoth of the Negev, and to those who were in Jatir, and to those who were in Aror, and to those who were in Siphmoth, and to those who were in Estimoa, and to those who were in Rakal, and to those who were in the cities of the Jerahmeelites, and to those who were in the cities of the Kenites, and to those who were in Hormah, and to those who were in Borashan, and to those who were in Actic, and to those who were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were accustomed to go." Well, that battle belonged to the Lord, did it not? Now let's turn to 1 Chronicles. Get the right one here. 1 Chronicles chapter 12. I'm going to put my bookmark right there, and I'm going to turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 12. And here we're just going to read 3 verses. We're going to read verses 20 through 22. We've already previously read verses 8 through 19, so we're going to pick up verses 20 through 22 now. Here we go. 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 20. As he went to Ziklag, there defected to him from Manasseh Adnah, Zoabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zilithai, captains of thousands who belonged to Manasseh. They helped David against the band of raiders, for they were all mighty men of valor who were captains in the army. For day by day men came to David to help him until there was a great army like the army of God. So we see that many new men are beginning to follow David, which is good because eventually he will be the king. Now let's turn back to 1 Samuel, and we're going to read 1 Samuel chapter 31, verses 1 through 13. So all of this chapter. 1 Samuel 31. Now the Philistines were fighting against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines overtook Saul and his sons, and the Philistines killed Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. The battle went heavily against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was badly wounded by the archers. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and pierce me through with it. Otherwise these uncircumcised will come and pierce me through and make sport of me." But his armor-bearer would not, for he was greatly afraid. So Saul took his sword and fell on it. When his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he also fell on his sword and died with him. Thus Saul died with his 3 sons, his armor-bearer, and all his men on that day together. When the men of Israel, who were on the other side of the valley with those who were beyond the Jordan, saw that the men of Israel had fled and that Saul and his sons were dead, they abandoned the cities and fled. Then the Philistines came and lived in them. It came about on the next day, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head and stripped off his weapons and sent them throughout the land of the Philistines to carry the good news to the house of their idols and to the people. They put his weapons in the temple of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. Now when the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men rose and walked all night, and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and they came to Jabesh and burned them there. They took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. And just as Samuel had told Saul from a long time back, Saul was no longer the Lord's pick to be king, and the Lord's presence had left Saul. And in this battle, Saul was on his own, and he died, and all of his sons. Such a sad ending to a promising beginning. Now let's go back. Put your bookmark there. Let's turn back to 1 Chronicles chapter 10 this time. 1 Chronicles chapter 10. And we're going to read all of chapter 10, verses 1 through 14. And this is about the defeat of Saul and his sons. So another historical account here. 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 1. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled before the Philistines and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines closely pursued Saul and his sons, and the Philistines struck down Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. The battle became heavy against Saul, and the archers overtook him, and he was wounded by the archers. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and thrust me through with it, otherwise these uncircumcised will come and abuse me." But his armor-bearer would not, for he was greatly afraid. Therefore Saul took his sword and fell on it. When his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he likewise fell on his sword and died. Thus Saul died with his 3 sons, and all those of his house died together. When all the men of Israel who were in the valley saw that they had fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook their cities and fled, and the Philistines came and lived in them. It came about the next day, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. So they stripped him and took his head and his armor, and sent messengers around the land of the Philistines to carry the good news to their idols and to the people. They put his armor in the house of their gods, and fastened his head in the house of Dagon. When all Jabesh-Gilead heard that the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose and took away the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons, and brought them to Jabesh, and they buried their bones under the oak in Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. So Saul died for his trespass which he committed against the Lord, because of the word of the Lord which he did not keep, and also because he asked counsel of a medium, making inquiry of it, and did not inquire of the Lord. Therefore he killed him, and turned the kingdom to David, the son of Jesse. Obedience is always better than sacrifice. And Saul did not learn, even in the end, going to a spiritist instead of asking the Lord. But what have we been seeing of David? David asked for the ephod. David asked of the Lord if he should go after the men who had taken Ziklag when he came back. You see, our mindset must stay that our trust is always in the Lord. All right, now let's turn back a page to 1 Chronicles chapter 9. 1 Chronicles chapter 9, verses 40 through 44. Some more history here. 1 Chronicles chapter 9, starting at verse 40. The son of Jonathan was Meribal, And Meribal became the father of Micah. The sons of Micah were Pithon and Melech, Theri, and Ahaz. Ahaz became the father of Jerah, and Jerah became the father of Alemeth, Azamath, and Zimri. And Zimri became the father of Moza, and Moza became the father of Beniah, and Rephai his son, Elisha his son, Azel his son. Azel had 6 sons, whose names were these: Azrikam, Butchero, and Ishmael, and Shirai, and Obadiah, and Hanan. These were the sons of Azel. And that is what is left of the lineage of King Saul. Now let's go to 2 Samuel. We're going to 2 Samuel now. And this is going to be odd, but we're going to go to 2 Samuel chapter 4, and we're only reading one verse, and that is verse 4. 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4. And it says, "Now Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the report of Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it happened that in her hurry to flee, he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth." So now we see the rest of Jonathan's lineage here. And finally today, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 1, and we're going to end our reading today by reading chapter 1. 2 Samuel chapter 1. Now it came about after the death of Saul, when David had returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, that David remained 2 days in Ziklag. On the 3rd day, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul, with his clothes torn and dust on his head. And it came about when he came to David that he fell to the ground and prostrated himself. Then David said to him, "From where do you come?" And he said to him, "I have escaped from the camp of Israel." David said to him, "How did things go? Please tell me." And he said, "The people have fled from the battle, and also many of the people have fallen and are dead, and Saul and Jonathan and his son are dead also." So David said to the young man who told him, "How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" The young man who told him said, "By chance I happened to be on Mount Gilboa, and behold, Saul was leaning on his spear. And behold, the chariots and the horsemen pursued him closely. When he looked behind him, he saw me and called to me, and I said, 'Here I am.' He said to me, 'Who are you?' And I answered, 'I am Amalekite. I am an Amalekite.' Then he said to me, 'Please stand beside me and kill me, for agony has seized me, because my life still lingers in me.' So I stood beside him and killed him, because I knew that he could not live after he had fallen. And I took the crown which was on his head and the bracelet which was on his arm, and I have brought them here to my Lord." Then David took hold of his clothes and tore them, and so also did all the men who were with him. They mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the people of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. David said to the young man who told him, "Where are you from?" And he answered, "I am the son of an alien, an Amalekite." Then David said to him, "How is it that you are not afraid to stretch out your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" And David called one of the young men and said, "Go, cut him down." So he struck him and he died. David said to him, "Your blood is on your head, for your mouth has testified against you, saying, 'I have killed the Lord's anointed.'" Then David chanted with his lament over Saul and Jonathan his son, and he told them to teach the sons of Judah the song of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, "Your beauty, O Israel, is slain on your high places. How have the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath. Proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon, or the daughters of the Philistines will rejoice. The daughters of the uncircumcised will exult. O mountains of Gilboa, let not dew or rain be on you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul, not anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back, and the sword of Saul did not return empty. Saul and Jonathan, beloved and pleasant in their life, and in their death They were not parted. They were swifter than eagles. They were stronger than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you luxuriously in scarlet, who put ornaments of gold on your apparel. How have the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? Jonathan is slain on your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. You have been very pleasant to me. Your love to me was more wonderful than the love of women. How have the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished? And that is the end of our reading for today. You see, David didn't choose to rejoice in the fact that his enemy Saul was defeated. Instead, he mourned because he recognized that these are the people of Israel, the chosen of the Most High God, the only true God. But because of their disobedience, because of Saul's disobedience, Jonathan, his best friend, was dead, and so many warriors. You see, the name of the Lord was to be raised up, but in his sin, Saul brought Israel low. Join me back here tomorrow, and we'll continue this story. God bless you.